So if you're just joining, I'm just messing around, testing this out like I have been the last couple days. But I'm going to answer questions for the next like 10 to 12 minutes. And then I have to jump into a tutoring session. But if anyone has questions, I'll be happy to answer them in the next 10 minutes. So feel free to ask them in the live chat, and I'll respond to them here. Thanks. So if you're new and you haven't done one of these with me before, basically just use the live chat to ask questions. Usually I just answer questions related to like web development, career advice, programming, learning the code, stuff like that. So feel free to ask in the live chat and I'll be happy to answer that. Alright, so we got a couple questions coming in, and can you tell what kind of database we should use, SQL versus NoSQL, for our project? So it depends on what kind of project you're doing. PostgreSQL is a really common and popular version of flavor of SQL, you could say. MySQL, of course, everybody's heard of it. It's used very widely. Those are both relational databases, and then in Colt's course and a lot of courses like it, they use MongoDB, which is a NoSQL or non-relational kind of an object type database. It really just depends. I would go to either MongoDB's website or just go to Google and search. In fact, I'll just pull it up for you now. There's a really good comparison that answers your question well. So let me see if I can find it quickly, and I'll just share the link with you here in the chat. And it's from the MongoDB website. There's other ones that do it, of course, and you may think, oh, well, MongoDB is going to be kind of partial to MongoDB. And I think in this one they're like trying to tell you the reasons why they think MongoDB is better. And of course, it could go the other way too. So that's one comparison that I just linked to there. Should be helpful for you, but it's going to come down to things like trade-offs, like do you need speed, do you need scalability. There's certain things you can do with relational databases that you can't do with non-relational and vice versa. So you'll want to get familiar with those and looking up comparisons like the one I just linked. Of course, there are others. That'll help you better understand which one's going to be right for your particular project. Because as I always say, it's always like the right tool for the job. I wouldn't say one's better than the other necessarily, like across the board. One's going to be better than the other for specific tasks. And so it's going to depend on your specific project, what the specs are for that project, what you need to do exactly, and then you can decide which tool is the right tool for the job. So the next one from Manny. If I have any tips on learning React, not sure if you should start learning on YouTube or a specific Udemy course. So it really just depends on your learning style. Me personally, if I had to go learn React today, or relearn it, I guess I should say, I would go straight to the documentation, and I would just build a little to-do list app or whatever they have available. It's probably going to be like a little CRUD app, and that just gets you familiar with the syntax and how everything works. And of course, the documentation is going to be the most up-to-date. So all these courses, someone takes 6 months to put out a course, or even a month if they're fast, and then maybe it doesn't have the newest feature. So you want to make sure that you're going from the docs, because they're going to have everything up to date with the newest features from React, like hooks, etc. So documentation is good. Plus, if you're not used to learning from documentation, that'll be really helpful. That in and of itself is a skill that you should hone in on, learning how to read documentation and teach yourself from it. Once you can read documentation and learn that way, then you'll really open up a bunch of new windows for yourself in terms of learning programming, because you'll be able to go and just take almost any topic. And even if there's no course for it, as long as there's documentation for it, then you'll be able to learn it that way. And of course, if you want to supplement with YouTube, which is free, of course, and then Udemy, which is sometimes free but usually paid but cheap, then you can do that also. If you're interested in courses that teach React from Udemy, then of course I'll just have to plug my little website here, topratedtechcourses.com. Always be on the lookout for deals there. They just ended their President's or their Valentine's Day sale, but I think they have a President's Day sale or something like that going on, so you might want to check that out. Next question. I've got 8 minutes here. So, what do you define being a good programmer and how to be one? I think there's certain qualities that a good programmer must possess, and that's going to be the ability to teach themselves and not just be able to teach themselves from somebody's course, because like I said a moment ago, you're not always going to have a course to learn from, and so you need to hone in on the ability to read documentation. And then sometimes there's not even documentation for something. At that point, you're usually kind of on, the edge of the cusp of some new technology that's just come out, and so that's not very likely to happen. Sometimes the documentation's there, but it's not good, in which case maybe you want to practice not only like learning how to read their source code and kind of pick apart how it works, but also writing your own documentation or contributing to that documentation, which would be good because then you'd be contributing potentially to open source if it's an open source project. So I say all that to say one skill that I would highly recommend, of course, is problem solving and the ability to teach yourself. And so problem solving comes with time. You can pick up different debugging tools to help you do that, but also having different methodologies that you put into play whenever you run into problems. For example, the rubber duck debugging method, where you talk to an inanimate object like a rubber duck, and you kind of talk out loud and walk through the problem that you're having. It's like having someone by your side that you can constantly turn to and say, all right, here's what's going on. Let me explain it to you. I can't figure out this problem. There's a bug, blah, blah, blah. You start going through the steps. And then in the back of your head, subconsciously, you're hearing yourself say these things, and it helps you to quickly resolve these issues, as opposed to just sitting there staring at the screen, maybe trying the same thing over and over again. And of course, that can usually lead to just you banging your head against the wall. So those are just a couple of things that I think make a good developer. Alright, so this is an individual who says they love building websites and they want to start teaching younger students because they believe they'll learn more. And they have 20 or so individuals that are willing to learn, but they're kind of scared of failing. And so, yeah, it's definitely a scary thing, but like you said, you think you'll learn more. So teaching is, like, the teacher learns the most, for sure. The teacher doesn't always know everything, and that's something that once you become a teacher, it becomes inherently clear. But as a student, you may see someone get up on the podium or in front of you in a video, what have you, and they're teaching this topic that you think, like, this person has known this their whole life. Like, they're really good at this. They're an expert. And the reality is, in some cases, that teacher learned it the night before or even 30 minutes before class if they're, a super procrastinator. So you have to be able to teach yourself stuff really quickly and then turn around and teach it to somebody else. But even if you don't know something, I'll just give you a little story that is an example of this. Back when I was first learning Ruby on Rails, I would work with other students, and it's kind of like the rubber duck debugging thing I was talking about a moment ago, where you have someone next to you and you're learning from a tutorial or from the documentation, but you're also kind of teaching them. Like, you're talking out loud, you're running into problems together, and so you could follow that same format in teaching these students, and I feel like you would learn quite a bit. So in terms of being scared of failure, there's no failure that can happen if you're all just learning together. Like, you're the lead learner, which happens to also be called a teacher. And so if you take that responsibility and you just have intellectual honesty and you're not saying, like, I know everything, you're just saying, hey, I know a little bit more than you guys do, so let's learn this together and let me help you with the knowledge that I do have, then I think you're going to overcome those fears of failing. So that's what I would do if it were me, if I was worried about it. I've definitely experienced stuff like that, especially like the night before, the day of, teaching a new course, like at a new company. Several times I've been hired, and I'm on my way to go teach that, whatever it may be, Angular or Ruby on Rails, JavaScript, etc. And it's pretty scary. But once you like stop worrying about these students who you think they're trying to pick you apart and trying to out you as like an imposter, and you look at them in the light as if they're here to learn, and I know more than they do, so I'm going to teach them everything that I know, and in the process we're also going to learn together. We're going to pick up some new things that maybe I didn't know. And so if you have that type of attitude, then it becomes a lot easier to focus in on whatever the topic is and be able to execute the teaching in a way that mitigates any fear of failure. Rith Thing, hi, how's it going, man? Or lady if you're not a man. Deepak, well, let me check the time. I got 3 minutes left, so let me just look through these real quick. All right, which is more appropriate, Django or Node? Depends on the project. Appreciate the tip so much. We'll check out the React documentation. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Manny. Do you think I really need a bachelor or another degree to enter into the animation business? I really don't want to be an animator. I really want to be an animator, but I'd rather be the one with the plans. Yeah, it just depends. If you go to school, then you're giving yourself the discipline to sit down in a class every day and just focus in on that topic. So that can be really helpful. Can also be really expensive. So if you have the discipline to do it at home, maybe explore that avenue first. Could save yourself a lot of time and money. However, having a degree also helps. So it's just 6 one way, half a dozen the other. If you've got the money to do the degree, maybe explore those options. But also, if you can teach yourself the same stuff that the degree teaches, and you can do it on your own for much cheaper at home, and you can create projects that you can put in front of potential employers if that's your ultimate goal, then I would suggest going in that direction. All right, I got 2 minutes. Am I working on any new course like Code with Node? No, right now I'm basically just doing tutoring, teaching people one-on-one, which if you're interested in that kind of thing, feel free to leave me a comment here on YouTube or contact me on Discord or any other way that you think you can reach me on Udemy, etc. I'll be happy to explain my tutoring services further. Yeah, no problem. Glad my tutorials helped you. Also, going back to that previous question about Code Node, I might start doing live coding to finish that course. So I might do streams where I just work on the course. I'm not gonna like edit the videos and make these perfect videos with all these resources and stuff and put them up on Udemy. Instead, what I'll do is I'll just live stream me finishing all the features that are left. That way, anybody that is taking the course that has reached those final lectures can at least be able to finish it with me, and they can watch it while it's live, or they can go back and watch the recordings that I upload. Okay, we got like 30 seconds left. Doing final project, not that prone JavaScript. Recommend me doing it with plain JavaScript or React. So I don't know what final project you're talking about, if that's for college or school or for Colt's course or what, but React will make your life easier if you know it. If you don't, then it's going to be more difficult. Writing something in plain vanilla JavaScript can be easy if you know it. If you don't know all that syntax, then again, it can be really difficult. So whichever one you're more familiar with is the one I would recommend. How to be a good problem solver. So I can't answer that one in the last like 10 seconds that I have. Opinions on Brexit. Not really into European politics, so I can't really give an opinion on that, sorry. Live streams for finishing the course would be really helpful. Yeah, I'm hoping that I can do that. So that's all the time I have for today. I got to jump into a tutoring session. Let me see if I can find the link for that. Let's see here, tinymail.com/. If anyone's interested in working with me personally, here's the link for my tutoring. If you're from a country that's not in the US and you don't have a US phone number and it won't let you book or whatever annoying thing that stops you from booking, then feel free to just contact me here on YouTube or on Discord, or if you have my email, you can contact me there, or on Udemy. There's a lot of different ways to get a hold of me. So if you want tutoring, reach out to me. We can talk about it. That's all I got for today. I'll definitely be doing a longer one, or several, hopefully this next week. So thanks everybody for showing up, and See you all then. Later.